You know those moments when you meet somebody and you just click automatically? Well, about a year ago, I was standing in an airport queue and I met this woman who was infectiously joyful, had this radiant light around her, just one of the most beautiful souls I've ever met in my life. And very quickly, we connected and realized, gosh, we're in each other's life for a reason. We need to be friends. So it was a beautiful connection. And it's been nearly a year. And today, I got to hear her story for the first time. She is a doctor, a psychologist who talks about her loss and the grief of going through such pain and also finding joy on the other end of that. She helps people around the world find joy and harness that right where they are. She has so many amazing tools. This conversation left me trying to jot all these things down, taking notes. I just felt so informed and so enlightened in our conversation. And I feel like it's one of those conversations where you feel less alone, where you feel like you can take a deep inhale and exhale. And remember that beauty still exists even in the hard moments. I hope that you thoroughly enjoy this conversation and that you take as many notes as I did. Welcome here. Thank you so much for being a part of the podcast. Welcome to season 2 of the Naked Podcast, a space where ordinary people, just like you and me, share the moments that changed everything. This podcast was inspired by a conversation I had with my grandma, who once said, if more of us shared our stories, fewer of us would feel alone. And that's exactly what we do here. On Naked, we talk about all the things, the wins, the losses, the growth, and the struggles. These are raw, unfiltered conversations about the parts we rarely talk about but deeply connect us. We are grateful you are here as we open up about the moments that shaped us. This is the Naked Podcast. Hello. How are you?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you great. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love your background. That's so cool.
We're doing this finally.
This is happening.
It's taken us a while. But divine timing, right?
Totally. Yeah.
Totally trust this is exactly the perfect time.
Yeah. No, I am so grateful. This is like, we got this all to align when it was the right time. There was just so much going on, I think, in both
Yeah.
of our worlds.
Right?
And yeah, I was recently reading one of your posts and I was like, oh girl, I feel you when you're just like, what is this season about? And I love what you wrote there about just like, it's not about climbing some sort of huge ladder or scale. It's like, what are the things? And yeah.
Right. Yeah, the one about not scaling for scaling's sake.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. I really felt into that. I've had some loads of brilliant business mentors, but what feels the most aligned is really feeling, not getting caught up in the world of just growing and growing and growing and growing and growing and pausing and enjoying what you've got and being intentional about what you want to do rather than getting caught up in anything or paranoia or,
Totally. All the things that are calling you from the thing that I like to word it as like, the good is the good, and no one's going to tell you to stop doing the good. But when doing the good, you often miss it on the great. And you know what the great is when you stop long enough to go, oh, like all these things are great. Like all these things are good. But what's really, really needing my attention is this great. And maybe that's your kids right now, or maybe that's your marriage, or maybe that's your mental health, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And and it's interesting because sort of paradoxically, I think it can have both. And I think lots of people fear success because they fear that they're not going to be able to be a great parent. And I don't think that's true. There's this interesting piece of research. Very successful women talked about like really feeling like they weren't there enough for their kids. But when they did some research and interviewed the kids, and the kids said they didn't want more time, they wanted more quality time.
Yeah.
So I also think paradoxically, as women, as successful women and entrepreneurs, we can feel this social conditioning that as the mum, we should be available all the time. And we can, it can be a tricky thing balancing that.
Totally.
And at the moment, for me, I just had such a breakthrough recently, Janelle, where I was like, Isaac's 8, he's our only physical child. And I'm like, before long, he's going to be but you've got some kids are older. I'm like, before long, not going to be this little anymore. And I want to be so present for that. And it was more an energetic piece of, I don't want to give all my energy to work and then be tired by the time he comes home,
Right.
right?
Right.
So it's like,
Can
and
you,
being careful with my energy, you know?
yeah. Yeah. That makes sense what you're saying about the research too. It's not about how much time, but it's the quality of time they get with you. And if you come in drained and like worn out, it's like, man, that's not the best part of you that you want to give them or that they want from you.
Exactly. And also, if I'm not like honoring my mission to spread joy and to do
Mm.
big stuff in the world, he's also not going to get the best of me either because I'm not going to
Yeah.
be in full alignment. So it's like it's balancing it all, which I do not have a secret formula for. Everyone else try and feel it's a dance, isn't it? You like
It
try
is a
things,
dance.
feel into it. It feels wrong. You try something else, and it's having grace with yourself. I think through the process,
Yeah. And
you know.
realizing that the music changes. Like sometimes this
Exactly.
groove feels exactly the right way you're supposed to be doing the dance and then it changes. And I think, Greg and I have talked about that with parenting our kids. Like each kid is almost like a different dance. You
Yeah,
kind of slipping into, and it's kind of like seasons and roles and balancing life and work. It's like they both require a
yeah.
different movement and
That's
and
so
it's going to change.
interesting. That's so interesting. And your kid, you've got some kids who are a bit older as well, right? So like just
Yeah.
totally different like developmental stages. And yeah, I might be calling on you in a few years. Like,
Yeah, it's crazy and it never changes. I think there's this idea. I remember when I had little kids, so I have 4 kids and I had them 6.5 years and under is the age gap between start to finish with the kiddos. So right now I've got a 16-year-old and the oldest is 23. And and yeah, just like trying to figure out how to do it as the seasons change. Like when you're little, it's a lot of physical doing, and when they become older, it's a different kind of it's more mental, and
yeah,
it's like trying to figure out the dance is very different from
right.
3 to 13. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's
yeah,
almost like as they get older, I think, because I used to be a child psychologist, and I think like as children get older, even though like you say they might not physically want you there as much, they still really need you, right? It's like they
hmm,
are individuating and going off and exploring, but they really need you in the background to be solid as well, right? They still do need
yeah.
you. It's so interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's wild. Well, I am so glad you're here. I am like just so excited about this conversation. Sarah and I met. So those of you who are listening, welcome here. Welcome to the podcast. Sarah and I just got right into it. So delighted to have her here. We actually met in an airport lineup, getting onto a plane just under a year ago. Actually, I went back. I
Was
think it was
it? Was it
September
about a
8th.
year ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it was
And I was
so
sending the line.
right on.
No, you were just, I'm like, oh my gosh, you might be the most colorful person I've ever seen. And just like oozing this like joy. I remember you were talking to the gal next to you. I was like, gosh, like she is just humming with the goodness. I'm like, I gotta meet this girl.
Oh. Yeah, I think I was on my way to a mastermind with some fellow coaches that we meet like from all over the world. So that's really exciting. But I remember what had happened was I was leaving a voice note for my team, and I
Oh,
was
that's
I
what
was
it was.
remember, and I was saying,
Yeah,
guys, thank you so much for like looking after things whilst I'm away, so I can go and like have these
it
adventures, but
was.
still feel like the business is held really like lovingly. And then you
Yeah.
were like, "Oh, that's such a nice message," and we got chatting, and it was just like we were such a vibrational match, weren't we? And then
Totally.
then I was like, "Oh man." I don't think we'd swapped numbers at that point, and I was like, "Oh, I wish we'd swapped numbers because it felt like we were such a vibrational match." And then you like, hadn't you sent? Did you send your number with like one of the hostesses with me? I was delighted. I
I
was like,
think I
"Yeah,
did.
oh
Yes,
yeah,
I did actually. I did. I remember that. I was like, how am I gonna? Because I thought the same thing. It's like, oh shoot! Like all of a sudden line started moving. I was like, I guess we're not gonna see any more of each other because we're sitting on opposite ends. I
I
did send a little
know."
note.
Oh, I'm so glad you did that. And then here we
I mean,
are today, like a year later.
it's
It's so fun.
yes, it is amazing. It's amazing. I'm so glad I saw you. It was a random trip too. Like I was leaving because of urgency to go back to see my dad. I wasn't even supposed to be on
Yeah,
that flight, and it was
yeah,
just so amazing to make that connection. And I was like, wow, like people, humanity is just incredible. And I just love the interactions and connections you meet in the most random places. People that you just like, oh, like we really jive. Like there's just something beautiful
right.
about this.
I know. I
Hmm.
love. I love those like synchronicities of, just I think when you're really open to it energetically, there's all kinds of interactions that you can have. And sometimes you don't keep in touch and it doesn't even matter. I was actually thinking, I woke up this morning remembering walking on the beach when Isaac was really little. And as a mum, kind of, I don't know about your listeners or you, but flipping it, being a mum has been like the biggest trigger for my, like, am I enough kind of paradigm.
Mm-hmm.
And this little old man literally just randomly said to me, "You're doing a great job, love." He just came up to me and said that and
Aww.
disappeared. And I was crying on the beach because it was
Mm-hmm.
like an angel. It was exactly what I needed to hear. So it is so nice that we swapped numbers and kept in touch. But there's something about being open.
Yeah.
I love those interactions with strangers. They make me feel so connected to the oneness,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And it's just such a beautiful reminder of like how a few words can just like melt your heart, and also just to reassure you that you are doing exactly what you're supposed to do, and just how subtle those little words, how many roots those words can grow into, just in the kindness of someone being brave enough to say like, you're doing enough, like you're doing
Yeah.
great.
Yes, and it really inspires me to do that as well, and I do try to, if I see someone and I love what they're wearing, or in fact, this is the gift of that guy, and it's the ripple effect. I was in Morrison's Cafe, me and my husband and my little boy. I mean, I do like a nice restaurant, but we also quite like going to Morrison's, which is a supermarket in Britain, for our breakfast. It's like a little tradition of ours. And in fact,
Oh.
there was a mum with a small baby, and she was so attuned and so joyful. And I did tell her, and that's
Mm.
probably because that man had told me, and I remembered how. So
Wow.
that's interesting. So maybe your listeners, maybe we can start a tidal wave, like, telling
Totally.
telling young parents that they're doing well, because it's hard and it can be isolating, right?
Totally. So isolating. So easy to get
Even
in our
when
heads
you've
about.
got even when you've got like a big community, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's so easy to just get caught in our own minds being like, oh, like I'm not doing this right, or I'm not doing that right, or like just the amounts of things that are on our to-do list, I think, as a mom. And it just
exactly.
can feel like we're falling behind. And yeah, it's
Exactly.
and it's especially beautiful coming from someone who doesn't know you, because they don't
Yeah,
owe you anything. Do you know? Like not
exactly. Exactly.
yeah.
Another time I was sitting on the bench. I'm looking out I'm looking out my window because the sea is there, the beautiful sea here in
Hmm.
Fife. And I was sitting on a bench at the beach, breastfeeding my baby, and these old women were coming towards me, and I braced myself that, oh, are they going to comment that I shouldn't be breastfeeding in public? That because that was
Yeah.
what was present for me at that time. And then this old lady, she came up and she said, "Keep going, love." And again, these lovely words
Aw.
of affirmation. You keep going and keep feeding. When she just encouraged me, and oh, that is such a gift, isn't it? And I think sometimes in our society, like in different cultures, they're so much more connected to the elders, whereas that isn't necessarily the case here in our society in the UK and in the USA. But that was so meaningful to have this love and guidance from older people.
Hmm.
Yeah.
How rich it is.
I love that this is what we're talking about. Didn't expect to be
I
talking about this.
we just let it all take us where it's going to take us.
Yeah, but I love that. Like when I received your email about the podcast, I was like, yeah, I love that it's just flowy. I
Hmm.
love that that's how you do these things, because that's where the magic
Hmm.
lies, when you leave space for the universe to kind of work through you.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Just letting the conversation just unfold as it should. And I think it's these kind of parts of the conversation that sometimes if you have a bunch of lined up questions, you don't get to have these parts because you're like, oh no, we're
Exactly.
queuing for all our questions. So
Exactly.
no, I
I love
love
it.
it. I love it. I got to ask you, what are you drinking today? Did you bring a drink?
Did I bring a drink? Do you know what? I don't know if you share a video, but look at the size of this water. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I did nearly make a cup of tea before our meeting, but I thought, no, I just want to drink. I'm really trying to be fit at the moment and get physically strong and stay
Yeah.
hydrated. But it's absolutely ludicrously
It
large.
is huge.
If anyone's listening to this and they can't see, I've got one of those stupid water bottles, like this fad, and it's like, it looks like I'm going camping with the whole family, and I'm carrying like 5 million litres of water, but it is helping me stay hydrated, so
It looks like it has a little count, like little like eat, drink this much by this time on the side. Is it like a
yeah,
little
it
reminder?
does,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
does.
yeah.
I mean, I don't really pay much attention to those, but I was actually listening to was it a podcast or something? Oh, I know, it was a book by Kasia Banyak. She wrote a book called Unbound. It's a great book. And she was
Mm.
talking about, imagine if we told our grandmothers, are you hydrated? They'd look at us like, what? If I'm thirsty, I drink. I don't need a flipping plastic bottle to tell me how much water to drink. It's so interesting, isn't it, how things have evolved? And I kind of love
Totally.
technology. I love that my watch tells me about my steps, but also I think, where are we out of tune with our bodies?
Mm.
Where are we not letting our animal bodies guide us, right? It does make me wonder about
Hmm.
that sometimes.
Yeah, just the simplicity of like life, and it's like I'm hungry, and so I'm just gonna go eat, not because I'm like I gotta get this much protein in me today, so I gotta go eat a can of
Oh,
tuna.
crap. I know, right?
Totally. The ebb and flow is just so much more ebb and flowy. Now it's like,
Exactly.
mm,
It is interesting, isn't it?
hmm, it is interesting. No,
What are
it's
you
wild.
drinking?
Oh, I am drinking some lemon and lime water.
Oh,
So I'm in
nice.
Nicaragua right now, and it's really warm.
Wow.
And
Is
yeah,
that where you and the
so
family are for a little while?
this is where we are. Yeah, yeah, we're here. Yeah, we were here. We came here a couple of years ago. We were here for 2 years. So we're back here for a while, and our daughter's engaged, and there's all kinds of things happening with wedding planning and all that kind of fun stuff. Yeah,
Exciting.
yeah. So
Oh,
it's good. My daughter, actually, my youngest, made this for me. She's like, "I'm making you a drink for your podcast today." So she brought me lime and fresh squeezed lime and lemon. But so she's
what a
my
little
little.
dreamboat.
I know, right?
Lovely. That's like really loving.
I know. She's so sweet. Well, that's the thing about like having your kiddos and as parents cheering your kids on. As you get older, you realize that it goes both ways,
Yeah,
and that they're just rooting you on as we have, in their lives, and it's
I
pretty
love
cool.
that.
Yeah,
I love
very
that.
sweet. But thank you for being here. And I really am so delighted. I really, I've seen snippets of your life over the last year and see like, oh, you're just that person that I saw at the airport. You really are that person that just oozes light in the world. And so I'm just really delighted, A, to have you here and to be so right off the bat, just being so transparent about that isolation feeling. That's why this is here, is because so many times in life we feel so alone or isolated, and that's why naked is a space where we can just come and be naked and just talk about the parts of life that maybe we avoid or we don't always share as openly, and for people just to listen and go, oh my gosh, like I'm right there. And hearing your story reminds me that like there is hope. There is somebody else who's felt the same pain or felt the same circumstances or the same overwhelming feeling or whatever it is. There's a lot of sameness and parallels in our journeys, even though we might live on opposite ends of the world and have completely different cultures, experiences, or whatever it might be. Is just beautiful that people will say yes. So the fact that you're here, and I know you speak a lot and you share your story a lot, but I honestly don't know too much about it. So I am just delighted to have you
Yay.
here on Naked. Yeah,
Oh, I'm
yeah,
really, really grateful to be here, and I love, yeah, your mission with this podcast of helping people be naked and vulnerable and to feel less alone. And yeah, I love that.
yeah. Well, it's because people like you say yes that it could even be, so it means a lot. And it's so funny that you remember that I sent you that little note. I think that was what I did, was I wrote something on like a piece of a napkin or something. I'm like, can
Yeah,
you give this to Skirl and Seat? And then it just kind of turned into this moment where we could be here and share about your journey. So when I asked you that, like, I think I just sent you like a note, hey, this is my Instagram, let's connect or something. um,
yeah.
but when I asked you to be on the podcast, was there something that came up in your mind? You're like, oh yeah, this is the time when everything changed for me.
The time in my life when everything changed for me.
Or was there like, gosh, there's like many
Oh yeah,
people
no,
say
yeah,
there's so
no, I mean,
many.
definitely. So, I mean, content warning for your viewers. I will talk about child loss because it's so central to my journey. But
Mm,
yeah, 100% Janelle, the actual split second that everything changed, everything, 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 was when I received a terminal diagnosis of my first child, Finley. So
Mm.
I was in across the water in Edinburgh in a the Royal Hospital for Sick Kids, and we knew that our little boy wasn't he was sick when he was born, and then he got better, but then suddenly lost his strength in his wrist, and I as a mum
Mm.
knew it was so bizarre, but I knew something was wrong. Um, anyway, yeah, it was when they said to us, "Your little boy has spinal muscular atrophy," um, which is a genetic disorder, and he's unlikely to live until he's 1 year old. So, and the average life expectancy is 8 months. So, worst case scenario, we were thinking, God, imagine if his life expectancy is like 40 years old, and what if he dies before us? But in our worst nightmare, we didn't even consider that he would
Mm.
die before his first birthday. But so it was the moment, and it's funny because it wasn't the moment he died, it was the moment that we received the diagnosis, which really feels like the boom, like everything changed from that point.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And, you know, everything changed in so many ways. So it was obviously the most heart-wrenching experience of my life and the hardest thing I've been through. And, and then obviously, then he was 3 months old when he was diagnosed, and he died when he was 8 months old.
Mm.
But when he died, like, I dreaded, obviously, him dying, and I especially was fearful that he would be in pain and I wouldn't be able to help him. But that
Yeah.
didn't happen. He had an incredibly peaceful death. And one of the biggest things I learned, Janelle, was
Mm.
honestly the most traumatic thing was was when I was up in my head fearing what the future would hold. So
Wow.
it's not to say that it wasn't deeply sad when he
Yeah.
died,
Yeah.
but the most suffering that I had was imagining scenarios that never happened,
Mm.
right? But it changed everything in so many ways, but also it made me fearless. It made me connected to magic, connected to the importance of the present moment, connected to like this absolute burning desire in me to help people realize how sacred life is and how important it is to be so present and to soak up the people you love, because that's the gift.
Mm.
Now, even if like my little boy who's 8 now, even if we have like an argument and we're doing each other's head in, it's underlined with absolute gratitude. It's in every single breath that I take
Mm.
now, this connection. There was so many synchronicities with nature. Butterflies would appear, and there was so much magic that everything completely, completely, completely changed. Everything.
Wow. Wow. So did it change like you're talking about it just like it opened up your eyes as to like I need to bring something to the world that maybe before this you didn't realize? Did it change the trajectory of how you did your work and how you
Totally. I mean, yes, I mean that's the point where I think I look at that, and that's the point where I see, wow, that was the start of the changes. But obviously they were kind of cumulative over time. But yeah, I
Mm.
think I eventually left the NHS. I was a senior psychologist in the National Health Service in the UK. And then I left and retrained as a transformational coach. And it felt so beautiful in my spirit to be focusing on what possibility and people's power. And, it, but I felt so brave. Like,
Mm.
nothing that bad can happen again. Like, nothing that bad could happen, Janelle. Like, I feel like, it made me
Yeah.
brave and fearless, but also it just changed. Like, I had such a connection to beauty and synchronicity and magic and joy that, yeah, it became so clear to me that my mission is to, I mean, when he was actually dying, my husband and I promised him, we said, Finley, you know,
Mm.
we promise we will carry on and we will make our lives so much more beautiful because of you. Because he was a little baby, but I do believe that they can absolutely, he could feel how we were. And I wanted
Mm.
to give him permission to let go. And we promised him, we promise we will make our lives so much more beautiful because of you. You don't have to worry about us. Now, of course, there was so much sadness and trauma, and I did grieve, and I still do grieve on and off. But we've kept that promise, and it feels like so. Yeah, I feel so inspired. Like it's something that it's hard for me to teach my clients because it's with me every second of the day. This drive to spread beauty and joy in the world in his memory. It's just so clear to me.
Wow. That
Yeah.
gets me all choked up when I'm just, envisioning you being there with your babe and just being like, we are going to take your life and we're going to do something spectacular with what we've learned from you and the joy that you just like ooze outside of the pain. It's beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel moved as well. I'm tearful as well. Um, yeah, it is. It's really beautiful. Like his life, and honestly, Janelle, I have like helped thousands of people connect to joy now in his memory. And that's so beautiful. Like a client last week was talking to me about how the impact this work's had on her older children, like, these like young men in the world, and how
Mm.
they're like celebrating themselves and coaching her, and little moments when I hear things like that from my clients. And for me, it's like, wow, this is all part of the ripple effect. And his life was really, really short, but it was so meaningful, and
Mm.
all he knew was like absolute love. And he was physically in discomfort at times. But somebody once said to me, that we can overestimate physical pain and underestimate like emotional
Mm.
safety and spiritual safety. And my sense with Finley is he knew he was exactly where he was meant to be in his life.
Mm.
He felt so emotionally safe and so spiritually safe. And yeah, there's something really significant about that for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
oh,
that
babe.
it's interesting how, yeah, like what comes out of pain and what comes out of grief,
Yeah,
and how, like, I wonder for you, his illness was for months for you to process, and like you said, like when you could see in his hand, you kind of just knew that something
yeah,
wasn't right or wasn't well, with
yeah,
him. And was it a process for you? Like, do you feel like over that 5 months of understanding what was going on with him, that there was an understanding? Because I heard this monk say it. I'm not sure if I'm going to say it right, but basically, the greatest pain we feel, and I'm butchering this, I already know this, but is
yeah,
in projecting like where we're going, like in projecting the fear of what could come, instead of like sitting in, I wish I could think of the phrase, but basically,
yeah,
yeah, like the deep sorrow and deep pain comes from the projection of the fear of what could be coming
yeah,
instead of in the now. It sounds like you embodied that, like you experienced that, where it's like you only felt that angst or that fear when you were
yeah.
projecting what was coming instead of being with your son.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's 100%, 100%. The most traumatic bit was imagining how I would even begin to live without him. It was my
Mm.
first child, and I didn't know that a love like that existed. You know what it's like when you become a
Yeah.
parent. And I was lucky that I know it's not straightforward for everybody, but
Mm-hmm.
I did fall in love with him instantly. And so the idea of Luke, I literally couldn't imagine living without him. So the idea of that happening was excruciating. But then the reality of it, there were times, of course, when I was deeply sad, and I vomited in the woods like when the funeral was over, and then I just didn't know what to do with myself. I had this level of anxiety in my body which was horrible, and I literally
Mm.
vomited in the woods, but it was moving through me, and it wasn't anything like what I imagined. And then
Mm.
there was some moments as well when even after his terminal diagnosis, when I knew he was going to die, but he was still alive, there were also some moments of absolute peace. I remember a couple of different times when I just had this feeling of we're all going to die. Like, like, what's the difference? Genuinely, time's an illusion anyway. What's the difference between a life that's 8 months long or 90 years
Mm.
long? You know, and I'd worked with lots of people as a psychologist who'd experienced such trauma and they'd never known love like they should have done. And it made me think, well, yeah, it's hard to express because it wasn't really a head thing. It wasn't really a cognitive thing. It was like a spiritual knowing that everything was going to be all right, actually. I
Hmm.
knew it. It deep, deep down, I
Yeah.
knew that, well, actually, what if this might be all right? It was a feeling almost. And it was fleeting. The majority of
Mm.
the time, very scared, but I was also very present and joyful when I was with him as well. A lot of the time, you know, friends and family would come and see us, and they'd say, "Wow, God, it's so amazing to see you with him," because they were just like had these horrible images of us. You know, they were so sad for us, and they were, you know,
Yeah.
come and be with us. And he was gorgeous little baby, and you know he was only really uncomfortable right at the end, and he had bits of discomfort, but he was also very very happy. Um,
Hmm.
and so they saw that, and so a lot of the time I was actually really present. But yeah, and I think there's something that, you know, many of your listeners, you know, some of them may have experienced child loss, and I'm sending them my love if they have. But it's not, you don't have to have experienced child loss to take a really deep learning from this around stop predicting the future, because it's never what we think it's going to be. And this is a good
Yeah.
reminder for me, actually, with some things coming up in my life. It's never how we think it's going to be. And yeah, you know, there's a quote that someone says, and he says something like, "Oh God, we're both we're both not really both got all these quotes that we can't remember." But it's basically like, I've had many worries in my life, most of which have never materialized. It's something
Mm.
along those lines, you know. And I'm trying to think, remember who the guy is, but you know, it's literally this idea of we just we don't know what's going to happen, and we spend our life anticipating things. I think it was Mark Twain, I think. But
Okay.
anyway, but anyway, I
Mm.
could be wrong. So forgive me, listeners, if I be completely wrong. You'll have to freaking Google it. But it's um yeah, this idea that most of our fears and our worries never come true. So
Hmm.
stop trying to predict the future and be really, really, really present, because the present moment is where all our power lives, where all our joy resides, right?
Hmm.
So that's like
Hmm.
part of what I feel so called to encourage other
Be
people to.
here.
Yeah, exactly.
There's something so special about nowness, like being here in the present moment. And just like I got up this morning and I sat on the hammock and I just closed my eyes and I just was like, it's not very windy where we are. It's quite warm, quite humid, like all year round. But I closed my eyes and I was like, oh my gosh, the wind, I can feel it, even though it's just like slight. And just that presence of just like, the wind on my skin, like
Yeah,
just that that that
100%.
essence. Because when I was talking to a friend about how our minds are noisy, right? And how we just carry on with all kinds of narratives. And a lot of times we don't realize a narrative that's just playing on repeat. It's like the constant, record that just spins around and around. And then when you stop and you realize the narrative that's like beaking in your head, and you're like, oh my gosh, no wonder I feel the way I do. No wonder I feel lethargic or sad or overwhelmed, or because this narrative is just on repeat. And we have the power to like change that narrative. But even more than that, when you're in the now,
Yeah,
like you don't even have to you don't have to think about the projection of the narrative of the future or the past or whatever is going on in your head, because you're so present. And we were
yeah,
talking about how certain things call us into being present.
yeah.
So I recently have been starting a new activity. I've been starting Taekwondo, which is completely out of my element, and it's stretching me big time. I feel like a kindergartner on the first day of school every time I go. Um, but I've realized it's crazy. I've realized how it's just I have to be so present. Like I'm not thinking about anything outside of the fact that I'm supposed to kick this thing, my leg's supposed to go this way, my body's supposed to turn. And it's
Yeah.
just, I leave there, Sarah, every single time. I feel like someone has just given me like a happy pill. Like I'm just
Wow.
like, I'm just so joyful
Wow.
because part of it, I think it's playfulness. It's allowing me to be a kid and be playful and feel like a beginner again. And my grandma always said to me, always be a beginner at something, always be new at something.
I love
And
that.
I've realized like how amazing it is to start fresh at something again, but how the nowness is really this beautiful thing that it does like fill you with just
Yes.
like being there, like
Yes. Yes.
being joyful because you're right there in that moment. And it's
Oh,
just like, oh, I've been feeling that a lot lately.
I love that. Absolutely love that. And I hear you. There's nothing more beautiful than being present. And actually, when we do feel dragged out of the present moment, we can feel the lack of alignment around that. It
Mm-hmm.
feels, doesn't feel right in our bodies
No,
when
no.
we're with people, but we're not really with them.
Yeah. Yeah. When you're here, but you're like so over there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is one of the things that you like with your coaching, with people you've helped some people through your journey? What are some of the like the things that you bump up against constantly that are people's maybe hindrance in moving beyond some of the things that are holding them back? What's something that you a key point or a practice that you've kind of given them to be like, okay, we gotta move here
Yeah.
a little bit forward.
So, oh, that's such a, I could literally talk to you for about 5 hours about this. That's not how I choose. I've done any preparation for this podcast because I loved
Perfect.
the way that you flow. So this is all like really coming from my intuition and my heart. You know, what I think one of the what comes to me that's really at the center of everything is that resistance causes suffering,
Hmm.
right? So one of the main things that I think helps people is finding ways to release resistance. So, it's a bit law of attraction kind of vibe, but there's a great question, which is, how is this perfect? Right?
Hmm.
How is this perfect? So even when something tricky is happening, and it can be small, annoying things or big things, or things about yourself even that you don't like or you feel critical of, and you ask the question, how is this perfect? It can
Wow.
literally completely transform how you feel. It can completely transform your energy when you stop resisting. You know, um,
Hmm.
it's not the thing that causes our suffering, it's the resistance that causes our suffering. And I think, I used to experience very debilitating anxiety for decades, a long time ago. And I remember once a coach asking me, how is it perfect, your anxiety? And I thought, I can't think of one way because I'd been battling with it for so long. I'd been resisting it for so long, and like what we resist persists. But I was obsessed with my anxiety. I thought about it all the time. I was addicted to thinking about my anxiety.
Hmm.
It makes me laugh because it's just boring. It was so boring. So boring, right? But I was like really in this vicious cycle of thinking about anxiety and fearing anxiety. And it was really pivotal for me to stop resisting it, like to stop fighting against it and to go with it and to
Hmm.
celebrate it as perfect. And I hope that I'll continue to feel anxious at times for the rest of my life if I'm doing things that stretch me and scare me, which I always do because I'm just a sicko like that. But but it's like, yeah, how is it perfect? How is it perfect that I'm feeling anxious? Well, I really care about this thing that I'm doing. Okay, how else is it perfect? Well, I'm in a human body and it's working. How else is
Hmm.
it perfect? Well, like maybe I'm actually quite excited about it as well, and just keeping going. But it can be like tiny, it could be a tiny thing like you're stuck in a queue and you're like feeling annoyed about it and say, how is it perfect? Well, actually, it's given me a chance to slow down a bit today. I've been rushing around a lot. You know what? I'm
Hmm.
stuck in this queue, so it's given me a chance to maybe respond to that message that I've really been meaning to respond to. And I'm going to do that. It's just like the main thing that causes everybody's suffering is resisting something. And so if you can resistance, boom.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
How is this perfect?
How is this perfect? Wow.
Right. Like my son has just gone into like his P4, it's called in Scotland, and he'd been in the same class for like 3 years, and then at the end of his last class, last year, they pulled him and only one other boy out and put them in a new class, and I was so upset about this thing. I thought it was like the end of the world, and it was so unfair, and oh my God, he's got this beautiful group of friends, and they're all so settled and they love each other and they're such nice kids, and oh, what's it going to be like? And all I could do was resist, right? I hung up on the head teacher, and then like an hour later had to teach a masterclass on communication. I was like, do as I say, not as I do. Everybody. I did apologise to the head teacher, and we did repair, just to be clear. She was not up for changing her mind about the thing. Anyway, it's so interesting, Janelle, because how is it perfect? He's had the chance to leave his comfort zone. He's had the chance to meet a whole bunch of new people. He's had a chance, I know he's only 8, but in a few years when he goes to secondary school, he's going to know double the people in his year. Like, I'm illustrating, I'm telling that story to illustrate this question because it's genuinely got the potential to be life-changing for your listeners. It's absolutely, I get so much feedback from hundreds of people that this question is like one of the biggest game changers for them.
Wow. I love it. As you're talking, I was thinking about it, myself just in my day to day, like, how is this perfect? Like, I think a lot of my friends and I are going through the season in life. It's like perimenopause, and it's very confusing. You're there too. Yeah, there's so much that comes with it, and I heard this girl talking about it this morning. She's like, yeah, it's quite scary to not know who's going to wake up in the morning when you don't know, like, like you can feel sad, and then you're all of a sudden you're happy, and then you're kind of mad and you want to throw something across the room, and then like all these symptoms that come with it. You're itchy and your boobs are full and engorged and your hair is falling out, and there's all these things that like layered experiences, and it can be very hard to not just want to somehow just get through it, that you're just hoping for when then instead of just being here in the now, and like what makes this beautiful.
Yes.
Like,
And
okay,
sorry, go on.
no, I'm
Yeah.
It makes me think about that.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And like, I'm there too. And I've got lots of good friends who are there too. And another thing is like, how is it perfect? Lots of people do feel more connected to anger or more connected to irritability. But also, how is it perfect to stop tolerating stuff that you've always tolerated? Like, how is it perfect to potentially, and I read this really interesting thing about menopause, which was like, it basically stops us like being so nice and accommodating. And how is that freaking perfect, Janelle? Like it removes some of the hormones that makes us maybe too accommodating at times. And I love that message. There's this brilliant woman that I follow on Instagram all about it, but it's like her whole message is this is like a spiritual opportunity. Don't resist it. So how is it perfect? Thing.
Right.
And it's not to say, it's not to like invalidate that sometimes there are things that are difficult. And what if we did view it like in a spiritual initiation and we didn't resist it? Because the resistance causes so much more suffering.
Oh yeah. I think that's what I was trying to quote before with the monk was like that resistance creates the greatest suffering. That I think is actually someone can Google that and find that now because I think I butchered it before. But yeah.
You can everyone Google everything. We can't because of perimenopause.
Also, yeah, like shoot. But yeah, no, that is like such an interesting way to look at it instead of just like trying so hard to get out of something, just living in it and finding what is beautiful, embracing it and be like, what is beautiful about this season? And you're right. I would say that there's a huge amount of bravery that I didn't feel when I was younger. A lot of second guessing, a lot of questioning. I would say my 20-year-old self would have crawled under a rock knowing that I would be hosting a podcast, because my husband and I used to be pastors, and I would give an announcement that we are going to have like choir practice, and I'd just be crying about that. And like over time though, there's just this, uh, yeah, like I feel like in the season of bravery and a courage, it's on my one friend says, it's like you have no shits to give. You just like, okay, like,
Wow.
yeah.
Exactly. And like, oh yeah, and I just feel like the world needs more women like in their power, like honoring themselves and listening to themselves and taking action. And this is what this woman that I followed talks about. Like she talks about, yeah, the world needs more women who are
Mm-hmm.
connected to that energy and willing to flip in, lead, and yeah, take charge. I love that.
Mm-hmm. And there needs to be for people that, like yourself, that are creating space for people to expand in that and to feel like someone maybe gives them like the key, like you said, like
Yeah.
what's beautiful, like
Mm-hmm.
in this moment. Like,
Mm-hmm.
yes, this is
Exactly. Yeah.
hard,
What's
but
perfect and beautiful about
oh, sorry, what's
this?
perfect and beautiful about this
Yeah.
moment? It's like, yeah.
Perfect.
See, look, I already forgot the wording, but I'm going to get it nailed by the time we hang up. What
Yeah.
is perfect about this moment? And it's just, yeah, like it just, we need people to empower us, because sometimes we can get stuck in our own way. Um, a lot of the
Exactly.
time, I think, right? And create a narrative that's keeps us stuck. But
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
what's
Exactly.
perfect?
But how is this perfect? Even how is this perfect can help? You know, like even if we move away from perimenopause, even like if I think of parenting, it helps me at times. Like say there's something really difficult with parenting, or you are like you've just had like a fight with you with somebody like your kid, or it's like how is this perfect? And it really does help me stay connected to the gratitude of like
Hmm.
I am so grateful that I've got a little healthy 8-year old who like is really in tune with his inner guidance system. Like and
Hmm.
I really am. How is it perfect? My little boy knows his mind and he's really assertive and he's a leader. And that
Hmm.
I love that. Like, and it's like
Yeah.
it's releasing the resistance of like, oh, this is so annoying. Because that it's when we get sucked into that energy, isn't it? Of like, oh, this is awful. That's what makes us like really miserable.
Mm-hmm. So draining when you're just like,
Yes. If we
yeah,
focus,
like sending.
even if we think of like uh, people in our lives, right? It's
Yeah.
very easy, and I've been there in the past when I focused on the aspects of people in my life. I've focused on the aspects that I don't like about people, right? Now,
Hmm.
anyone could look at me and do the same, right? We've all got strengths and weaknesses, and it was transformative when I started thinking about the people in my life as like, how are they perfect? Like how, like don't
Hmm.
focus. You're not going to change people, so don't focus on the parts of them that you wish were different. How, and this again, it's a bit like a law of attraction thing, but if you focus on like, if you think of people and focus on like the 5 main things that you love about that person, it's amazing when you do that. And then you start attracting more and more of that in the
Wow.
person because you're so focused on it. And so even like with people in your life,
Hmm.
like
I love
how
that.
is it perfect that this person's different to me? How is it
Yeah.
perfect that this person has a different point of view to me? Or how is it perfect that this person is different to this other person, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love the idea of like thinking about that person. What are 5 things that are
Yeah. Positive
perfect?
aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like what a way to change that around your
Yeah.
frustration, or just like seeing the negativity in yourself or in somebody else. Like when you feel negative about yourself, just like what are
Yeah.
5 things that are perfect about me? And like
Yeah.
what a beautiful tool to
It's
have.
such a beautiful tool. It's such a beautiful tool. And yeah, you're right. Like, even if you think about yourself as a person, like, how is it perfect that I am fill in the blank, something that you're resisting about yourself, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We're all so different. My husband has got such like calm energy and he used to make himself wrong for that. But for him, it's been brilliant to be like, how am I perfect exactly as I am? And for me as well, I'm very enthusiastic and I used to feel shameful about that. But it's like, no, 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 no. Like, learned to embrace that so much. And it's like, how is it perfect that I am loud and enthusiastic? And I've completely embraced those aspects of myself. And that's all down to this kind of idea, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. I can, and I love like sizable tools that you can remember. I think I've got it in my head now. How is it perfect?
Yeah,
That I can just take with me into everything, into conversations with, yeah, with anyone I'm in, and use that tool, or sitting in traffic, being like, you could get really frustrated, but like, how is it perfect? Like you said, like I'm
yes,
actually getting to slow down. I'm actually getting to listen to a podcast I wanted to listen to, or I'm just enjoying the silence, or
exactly.
like, yeah, it takes away
I'm
that
like,
angst in
it's
living.
I own a car. Like I own a car.
Yeah,
Even like I'm renting. I've got enough money to rent this car. I'm safe right now. Like it's
yeah,
just rewiring our brains
yeah.
to stop causing ourselves suffering by focusing on something that you can't control. And there's a guy called Gay
Mm,
Hendricks who wrote The Big Leap, but he also wrote a book called The Genius Zone. And it's so simple, but it's this
mm,
piece of some things we can control and some things we cannot control. And the majority of the time, people focus on the things they can't control and they cause
right,
themselves so much suffering by doing so. So it's like, if I cannot control something, don't focus on it. What can I control, right? So it's so,
right.
you can't control the traffic, right?
No,
You
but
can't
you can
control
control.
what you can do.
Yeah, but you can control how you feel in the traffic.
Yeah, exactly. But you can
Yeah,
control what you focus on, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. What you're thinking about, where your mind goes,
Yeah,
where your space is.
exactly.
Wow. Wow, that's incredible. If you were to tell yourself, like your younger self, something, and maybe you've already said it, but I'm just thinking, I feel like you're a wealth of knowledge. Um, but if you were to tell like your 20-year-old self something about life, what would you want her to know that you now know about life?
Hmm. I would want her to know that she's going to feel so much more comfortable in her own skin that she can't even begin to imagine it right now, but that so much freedom and beauty and joy is possible, that she's going to feel so free from anxiety and so free from a fear of what other people think, and she's going to learn to really love herself and be her own source of unconditional love and approval, so that she won't need to look for that validation from other people anymore at all. And she's going to be so powerful, like, and she's going to find her own way in life and feel so connected to community.
Mm,
um and basically, that life is going to be absolutely amazing beyond your wildest dreams. There's a great book by Matt Haig, called something like Reasons to Stay Alive. And that really resonates with me because,
mm,
younger me was not joyful like this, Janelle, and was
right.
really used to, drink and take drugs and do all kinds of things to numb out from her feelings. But his book is so beautiful because it's like him speaking to his younger self, and his younger self
Wow.
was suicidal, his younger self was like really unhappy, but it's like letters to his younger self of like, you will not even imagine, but telling his younger self like
Mm,
what's possible. So it's
wow.
just like that and this is a bit of a theme of our conversation today, isn't it? But it's like, you don't know what the future is going to hold, and you don't know how
Yeah.
great it can be, actually.
Right.
And that
Yeah.
was entirely relevant for me with Finley. I literally thought that, I thought, and honestly, I thought, I don't want to live anymore. When he was sick before he died, I thought, I'm not going to be able to cope. I won't want to live anymore, or I'm not going to
Mm,
be able to cope with his death. So I don't want to live. I don't want to find out. But I knew I would never ever end my life because of the other people in my life that I loved. But I absolutely thought that for the rest of my whole life, I would have to endure life, and it would be miserable
mm.
constantly forever. That's what I genuinely thought.
Wow.
And honestly, life, and it's so mad, but since Finley died, my life is so much more beautiful, and it's
Mm,
so much richer, and I feel so much more joy and freedom and beauty and magic than I ever did. And it's like,
mm.
yeah, that's such a theme, isn't it? And it's similar to the theme of what I would tell my younger self. It's just like, you've got no idea how good things can get if you let them get like that.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's what I love
So,
about what I do as a coach as opposed to a psychologist. It's like, when I had that anxiety for so long, no one ever said to me, I had lots of therapy, but no one ever said, Sarah, what if everything works out really well? And that, my
hmm.
spirit is so like joyful. That would have worked so well for me, but nobody ever said that. The focus was on the problem, the problem, the problem, the anxiety. Tell me about the anxiety. Let's talk about the anxiety. Let's focus on the thing that you don't want. Let's do that for years.
Hmm.
And actually, like, I never considered, but what if anxiety wasn't even an issue? What could be possible?
Right.
And then that's what transformational coaching did for me. And that's why I am so driven to work with people in this new way, where we don't
Hmm.
sit and talk. It's not to say that we don't talk about trauma. We do hold pain and sadness, and we go there. I'm not afraid to do that with people. But the large emphasis is on what is possible. Like, how good will you let things get, basically?
Wow.
You know? Like, how good will
Yes.
you let things get?
Yeah. Yeah. And allowing yourself to see that, feel
Yeah,
that. Yeah.
exactly.
I'm maybe this is going back around again, but I'm really interested if maybe you can break it down for us a bit. What you're talking about, what you went through, this like, I just don't know if I'll be able to I'll just be existing after this
Yeah,
baby passes.
yeah,
And like, at what point did you feel that shift in you? I know we
yeah,
talked about it a little bit, but
yeah. Um, at what point did I realize I was going to be all right, kind of thing?
yeah.
Yeah. Well, again, it was like such a gradual thing, but when Finley died, it was such a relief that his death was actually so beautiful and spiritual. I like
Mm.
sang the Smashing Pumpkins to him, and we just snuggled up, and it
Oh.
was so intimate and beautiful. And like, so it was a relief that the death was peaceful. So
Mm.
there was relief then, but I was still so like, for a while, and I'm sure people who've lost very close people, especially children, will resonate. It's like, I didn't think the future stopped existing, which actually helped me be insanely present, because I
Mm.
kind of thought, I don't even know if I'm going to go back to work. I don't know. The future disappeared. And so we were even more connected to the synchronicities in nature, like the butterflies. And I mean, that would be a whole other podcast episode about the butterflies and the synchronicities. But so already, that 2 weeks after he died, I was so connected to pure positive energy and unconditional love. It was
Wow.
not, Janelle. It was like, consistently, I felt pure love and forgiveness to anyone who'd ever
Mm.
wronged me. I felt like I could see everything clearly. So there was
Wow.
that. I still at that point didn't know that the future was going to be all right. I was just so present. And then it was really gradual. There were moments of thinking, oh my God, am I going to feel this anxious like forever?
Yeah.
But again, projecting into the future.
Right.
But when did I really, I mean, I think it was a gradual thing. And I think leaving my job and making some really empowered decisions to do things differently. I actually had to be interviewed for a job that I didn't, re-interviewed for a job that I didn't get, and it was the best thing that ever happened. But they offered me another job, and I said no, and I said I'm leaving, and I think people were very shocked because I left a very good offer, but I was like, no, I don't want to do this, and so
Mm.
then that's when when it really started to change, was when I really started listening to my inner guidance system and making brave decisions. That's when it started changing. And then I trained to teach dance, like a joyful barefoot dance. And dance
Cool.
was one of the things that absolutely helped me survive Finley's death. Music and movement and dance. And so it was like a combination of all of those things, really. Finding transformational coaching, which was so in alignment. Like, I would do it if I didn't get paid. I do it. I love it. I found what I'm
Mm.
supposed to do. I love it. So I found this thing that I loved, and the dance, and I was free. I was my own boss. I could do what I wanted, wear what I want. I could swear. I could be uninhibited. I could be the fullest version of me. Whereas I always
Mm-hmm.
felt like sort of a square peg in a round hole, in a
Mm.
big system. I just didn't fit. And it didn't feel, my life force energy was not flowing. So it's kind of like a gradual thing, like it's cumulative and it happened gradually, but also like it was also quite immediate after he died that I was like,
Mm.
what? Like, I couldn't believe I was connected to this inspiration and life force energy in a deeper way than I ever had done before at the time when I absolutely thought I'd be the furthest away from it. So it was nuts,
Mm.
Janelle. It was
Yeah.
nuts. I didn't
Yeah.
get that,
It's
you know?
like, yes.
Yeah.
That it's like your whole life just transformed. Like you said,
Yes.
it became more beautiful
Yeah.
than what it what it was, even though I'm sure there's so much beauty in that. It just you emerge. I didn't know much about dragonflies, and I recently just did a little research on dragonflies. I didn't realize they actually live under in water for like 18 months, and then they climb up like into a dry spot, and then they harden and they crack open, and the wings emerge, and then they're just flying. I had no idea that about
Yeah.
dragonflies, and it sounds like it's not that life wasn't good. It's like there was, but then you just this like you just
That's it.
took off.
That's it. And that's the thing about how good will you let things get, isn't it? Because I was in a job that it was well paid. I loved it. I did love it. I worked with children in foster care and I loved it and I felt so passionately about it. And I was good at it. And that would have been a brilliant job for the rest of my life.
Mm-hmm.
And had Finley not died, I would still be there, guarantee it. But this thing happened which gave me permission to really, like you say, break free. And
Mm.
then it's just been like, the better it gets, the better it gets. It's like this positive momentum that's just gone and it keeps going.
Wow. And now here
What
you
is
are.
it? Here
This infectious joy everywhere in the world.
we are. Yeah, exactly. And like flying around the world, like with, I'm part of this group called 4PC with Rich Litvin, who is a brilliant, he's written one of the most famous books in transformational coaching called The Prosperous Coach. But I'm part of his like high level mastermind with 30 other very successful coaches in the world. And it's like so exciting, Janelle.
Wow.
And we meet in different parts of the world twice a year. That's when I met you. I was on the way there.
Oh,
And that meets
okay.
such a need of mine for adventure and excitement and travel. And, so I'm off to Romania a week on Saturday
Wow.
to hang out with this group of people. And, I used to visualize like living in the house with the sea view, which I'm now in. I used to visualize traveling and, it's all like, it's all here now. And I'm so grateful, Janelle. Yeah.
Wow. It sounds like you are somebody who has instilled practices in your life that are the underground, like the roots beneath it are gratitude.
Mhm. Oh yeah.
And gratitude is
Yeah.
such a shift in how we view and feel and embody ourselves in the world.
100, 100, 100%. Gratitude's like one of the absolute most key things. And there's lots of, people think it's like this cute little thing. It's not. It's absolutely profound and and important. And there's very in-depth research that shows how utterly important gratitude is, for people who feel good, people who feel joyful, people who feel well. They have a gratitude practice. They literally
Mm-hmm.
practice it. And, you can write 3 things down a day for 30 days and it'll massively impact your mood. But I don't even do that anymore. It's just like the way I live, and I have something in my work called Celebration Station. So me and my clients just celebrate together constantly. And, it's like, but it's like a way of living. But yeah, gratitude for me, meditation and compassion for self-compassion and compassion for others. But like, these are some of the practices and movement and dance. And these are some of the practices that, yeah, I do. I'm diligent about lots of those practices.
I love the celebration station. Is that what you called it?
Celebration Station. It's genius, isn't it? And it's so simple. It's so interesting, Janelle. It's so simple. It's like simply being in a group and we're like, I say to people, when I was a clinical psychologist, some of the things I noticed were that people took on so much responsibility for the things that went wrong in their life, but they didn't ever celebrate the wins. Like it was just something
Mm.
I observed as a psychologist, and that people found it really hard to be compassionate to themselves. in a dissimilar way that they found it easier to be compassionate to other people. And so, I always say to people, you can celebrate a cup of tea if you want, or you can celebrate a loved one, but the up level is to celebrate yourself. And it's so amazing,
Hmm.
emotional. Like, it's so simple. And sometimes I do things and, I put lots of effort into teaching and then at Celebration Station, it's so easy for me as a leader because we literally take it in turns to celebrate, but it's often the most profound thing because we get
Wow.
like single mums who've never, ever celebrated everything that they've done and celebrating themselves in the group and everyone in the group celebrating them and them like, it's so emotional.
Wow.
It's so profound celebration. And yeah, it's similar to gratitude really, isn't it? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Wow. I feel like we could talk for hours. I feel like I can like, okay, part 4, part 5 is coming.
I know. Yeah, we could. Yeah. We'll have to do it.
Oh man. We will
Yeah.
have to. This has been so brilliant and I am just inspired. I'm like I need to read this, watch this over and take notes for myself. You are such a light. I hope that you know that you just like have this you are such a light. Is there anything you would want, one last thing you'd want to leave with the listeners that you're like, oh, this is important. I want you to have this piece.
Hmm. Um, I think the final thing for me that is present in my heart is that sometimes the absolute magic is on the other side of it's on the outside of your comfort zone.
Hmm. Wow.
That's been key for me in my expansion and my growth and my recovery from anxiety is like sometimes the thing that you fear the most is actually a desire. It's a desire. It's something that you want. It's a deep desire, and Kesha Banyak in her book Unbound talks about how, anxiety can be untransmuted enthusiasm, right? So it's like, yeah, there's something for me about following your highest excitement, and excitement is similar to fear. So that feels like a message that feels so important to leave with people. Like, what is your absolute highest excitement? What are you like terrified of, but also like drawn towards? And honor that.
Hmm. Do
Yeah,
that.
do that.
Do that. Do
Yeah.
that. Amazing. I feel like you answered this many times, but I always like to ask people one final question. What is bringing you joy today?
Hmm. What is bringing me joy today? Well, right, this present moment is bringing me joy. Being here with you, connected, and the vibration that I feel in my body. Being at the skate park with my little boy, watching him on his little scooter, scooting around, and him chasing me, and me feeling really present as a mum and really connected to the fun.
Hmm.
Um, moving my body, walking a lot today brought me joy. I'm doing something really exciting that's coming up that I'm planning. Um, which feels super exciting and involves me leaving my comfort zone. Um, yeah,
Amazing.
so much.
Amazing.
My,
So many
my
things.
husband and I had a bit of an argument. To keep it real, my husband and I had an argument. What do you know? What brings me joy is that I can express myself freely with him, and that I know that we're very good at repairing. So what brings me joy is expressing how I feel and not holding it back, and then
Mm-hmm.
repairing the rupture. And we repaired very beautifully, and that brings me joy that we were able to really clear the energy around that. We don't argue very often, but we did today, so I'm just keeping it real with
I love it. I love it.
real.
Get naked here. That's what this is
Oh
all
yeah,
about.
we're naked.
Oh, well, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you
To
for
all the
having
listeners,
me.
this is such a treat. Really, really such a treat.
I've loved every
Um,
second. Thank
Me
you.
too. We'll do this
Yay.
again. This will be
Yeah,
wonderful.
and I can't wait to share this with my community too. I think they're going to love it.
Yeah. No, I'm very excited. Well, until next time, many hugs.
Lots of
Okay.
love. Thank you for
Lots
having
of love.
me.
I want to thank you so much for being here, for taking the time to listen to the Naked Podcast. It honestly means so much. If there's something in the episode that has moved you, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. And if you haven't already, give us a follow and leave a review. It helps so much to keep the momentum and keep the show growing. For more conversations, reflections, and ways to stay connected, check out the link in the show notes. Until next time. If you would like to connect with us or possibly share your story, please contact us at nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. That's nakedwithjanelle@gmail.com. Thanks so much. I want to give a huge thanks to my son, Mikhail Nordine, who produces and edits every single episode. He is the reason this podcast doesn't live inside my computer, but actually makes its way to you. He does a lot of the behind the scenes work, but he's also front and center in creating every single episode with me. I couldn't do this without him, so a huge thank you to him.